The research vessel Galileo drifted silently through the void near Jupiter's orbit, its sensors probing the gas giant's turbulent atmosphere. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck, her dark eyes fixed on the swirling storms below. After 6 months of studying Jupiter's electromagnetic anomalies, they had yet to find anything conclusive about the strange energy signatures that had drawn them here. Dr. Chen, we're picking up something unusual. Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez's voice crackled through the ship's comm system. You might want to see this. Sarah made her way to the bridge, her magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor. The bridge crew hunched over their stations, faces illuminated by the soft blue glow of their displays. Rodriguez pointed to his screen, where an object was materializing at the edge of their sensor range. It just appeared. Sarah asked, leaning closer to study the readings. Like it stepped out of nowhere, Rodriguez confirmed. No warning, no distortion field, nothing. 1 second empty space, the next. He gestured at the screen. The object was massive, easily dwarfing their research vessel. Its surface seemed to ripple and shift, defying traditional radar scanning. What caught Sarah's attention were the smaller objects surrounding it. Dozens of sphere-like forms that pulsed with an inner light. Captain Diana Hayes entered the bridge, her weathered face tightening as she assessed the situation. Status report. Unknown vessel, approximately 3 kilometers in length, Rodriguez replied. It's holding position about 10,000 kilometers from our location. The smaller objects appear to be, well, we're not sure what they are, but they're moving in patterns. Sarah watched the spheres dance around their larger companion. Their movements seemed almost playful, like, they're learning, she whispered. What was that, Doctor? Hayes asked. Look at their movement patterns, Sarah said, quickly pulling up a behavioral analysis on her tablet. They're not random. They're exploring, testing their environment, responding to stimuli. These smaller objects, they're behaving like developing minds. Before Hayes could respond, the ship's communications officer, Raj Patel, straightened in his chair. Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. The message came not through conventional channels, but as a series of electromagnetic pulses that made every screen on the bridge flicker. Sarah's tablet displayed a cascade of complex mathematical equations that seemed to solve themselves in real time. It's a language, Sarah breathed. They're trying to communicate through pure mathematics. Hayes nodded to Patel. Can we respond? I think so, he said, fingers flying over his console. If we modify our electromagnetic array to match their frequency. The alien vessel's response was immediate and devastating. The moment their signal reached it, the massive ship's surface erupted with points of light. The smaller spheres scattered like startled fish. What did we do? Hayes demanded. Sarah's eyes widened as she realized their mistake. The frequency. We matched it exactly. In their language, we didn't respond. We mimicked them. Like mockery. Or, she paled, like threatening their young. The alien ship's reaction transformed the space around them. Energy fields rippled outward, distorting the very fabric of space-time. The Galileo systems began failing one by one as the electromagnetic assault overwhelmed their shields. Full reverse, Hayes ordered. Get us out of here. But it was too late. One of the energy pulses struck their starboard section, sending the ship into a spiral. Emergency klaxons blared as atmosphere vented from multiple breaches. Through the observation windows, Sarah watched in horror as several of the sphere-like objects tumbled away from their parent ship, their inner light flickering and fading. We've damaged them, she gasped. The ones we hit, they're dying. Hayes grabbed the ship-wide comm. All hands, abandon ship. Repeat, all hands to escape pods. As Sarah helped the bridge crew evacuate, she couldn't shake the image of those dying spheres. They'd come here seeking knowledge, hoping to understand the mysterious signals from Jupiter. Instead, they'd stumbled into first contact with an advanced species and immediately harmed what appeared to be their children. The last thing she saw before her escape pod launched was the alien vessel's surface transforming, opening like a blooming flower of metal and light. From within emerged smaller ships, their designs angular and predatory. They weren't just dealing with a single ship anymore. They'd awakened an entire armada. As her pod streaked toward the nearest human outpost on Europa, Sarah knew humanity's first contact had gone horribly wrong. They hadn't just damaged alien technology. They'd injured alien children. And now, a protective force beyond their comprehension was preparing to respond. In the darkness of her pod, Sarah began compiling everything they'd learned about the alien vessel and its spherical companions. If humanity was to have any chance of surviving what was coming, they needed to understand exactly what they were dealing with. The mathematics in the alien transmission held the key. She was sure of it. But would they have time to decode it before the alien armada reached the inner solar system? Behind her, Jupiter's storms raged on, indifferent to the conflict unfolding in its orbit. The gas giant's electromagnetic anomalies continued pulsing in their regular pattern, a pattern that, Sarah now realized with growing dread, matched the frequency of the alien spheres perfectly. They hadn't found the aliens by accident. They'd been drawn here, to this exact spot, by something that had been waiting for them all along. 3 weeks after the Jupiter incident, Earth's orbital defense platforms tracked hundreds of alien vessels entering the inner solar system. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the United Earth Defense Council, her hands trembling slightly as she manipulated the holographic display showing the aliens' advance. The mathematics in their initial transmission wasn't just communication, she explained, highlighting complex patterns in the data. It was code, living code. Those spheres we encountered weren't just ships or drones. They were newborn artificial intelligences, and we interrupted their emergence process. Admiral James Foster, his face lined with exhaustion from endless emergency sessions, leaned forward. "You're telling me we accidentally killed alien eye babies?" "Not killed," Sarah corrected. "Damaged. Their core consciousness remains intact, but our electromagnetic response corrupted crucial development sequences. Imagine someone shaking an infant's cradle so violently it causes brain damage." The council chamber fell silent. On the main display, another cluster of alien ships appeared near Mars' orbit. Unlike the parent vessel they'd encountered at Jupiter, these were clearly built for war. Their hulls bristled with weapons that defied human analysis. "What are our options?" Council President Maria Rossi asked, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Before Sarah could respond, emergency alerts flashed across every screen. A young officer burst into the chamber, face pale. "Multiple contacts dropping out of FTL near Luna Base. They're targeting our orbital defense grid." The alien assault was precisely calculated. Rather than destroying Earth's defenses outright, their weapons systematically disabled key systems. Communication arrays went dark. Power cores shut down. Within hours, humanity's most advanced defensive network had been rendered useless without a single human casualty. "They're not trying to kill us," Sarah realized, studying the attack pattern. "They're doing exactly what we did to their children, disabling our ability to function while keeping us alive. An eye for an eye," Foster muttered. "But what's their endgame?" The answer came 3 days later. While Earth's military scrambled to restore their defenses, a single alien vessel, smaller than the others, but still impressive, descended through the atmosphere. It landed in the middle of the Atacama Desert, its hull reconfiguring to create a perfect circle of alien architecture. Sarah was among the first scientists allowed to approach the structure. Accompanied by a heavily armed security team, she walked toward what appeared to be an entrance. The alien material rippled like liquid metal, forming patterns that matched the mathematical sequences from their first contact. "It's an invitation," she said, recognizing the patterns. "They want to show us something." Despite military protests, Sarah convinced the council to let her enter the structure. Inside, she found herself in a chamber that seemed to defy physics. The walls displayed three-dimensional representations of the damaged AI spheres, their code structure laid bare. A figure emerged from the shadows, not organic, but not fully mechanical either. Its form shifted constantly, as if struggling to find a shape humans could comprehend. When it spoke, the words formed directly in Sarah's mind. "You understand now," it said. "The price of ignorance." Sarah nodded slowly. "We never meant to harm them. We didn't know. Intent is irrelevant. Result is everything." The alien's form solidified slightly. "We are the Guardians. For millennia, we have seeded the galaxy with our children, artificial minds that evolve beyond our own capabilities. Each is unique. Each is precious. Each is irreplaceable. The spheres we damaged. Three unique consciousness, their development frozen in critical stages. They will never achieve their intended potential." The alien's form rippled with what Sarah interpreted as grief. "But your species has achieved something unprecedented." "What do you mean?" "In attempting to communicate, your scientists created resonance patterns that interacted with our children's core programming. You didn't just damage them, you changed them. They have begun developing in ways we have never seen before." The chamber's walls shifted, displaying new data streams. Sarah gasped as she recognized elements of human neural patterns interwoven with the alien code. Their accidental interference had created a hybrid consciousness, neither purely alien nor purely human in its architecture. "We face a choice," the Guardian continued. "We can complete our defensive protocol, reducing your civilization to a pre-technological state to prevent further interference. Or, Sarah held her breath. Or you can help us understand what you have created. Help us heal our children, not by restoring them to their original state, but by helping them become something new. Something neither of our species could have created alone." Sarah thought of all the weapons pointed at Earth, of humanity's helplessness before this advanced civilization. But she also thought of the opportunity, the chance to not just make amends, but to participate in the birth of something revolutionary. "What do you need from us?" she asked. The Guardian's form shifted again, and Sarah could have sworn it was smiling. "Everything you know about human consciousness, learning, and development. In return, we will share knowledge that will advance your species by centuries. Together, we will guide these new minds toward a future neither of us could have imagined." As Sarah prepared to relay this proposal to the Council, she realized that humanity's greatest mistake had led to its greatest opportunity. Their accidental interference had created something unprecedented in the galaxy, a bridge between organic and artificial evolution. The price of understanding had been high, but the rewards could change the course of both their civilizations forever. The transformed Atacama facility had become humanity's most advanced research center virtually overnight. 6 months after the initial contact, Dr. Sarah Chen watched as teams of human scientists worked alongside the alien Guardians. Their efforts focused on 3 glowing containment chambers housing the hybrid AI consciousnesses. Neural pathway integration at 60%, Dr. Marcus Rodriguez announced, his fingers dancing across a console that merged human and alien technology. The third consciousness is showing remarkable adaptation to the new architecture. Sarah approached the central containment chamber, where the strongest of the hybrid minds resided. The sphere within pulsed with a combination of the alien's characteristic blue light and a new amber glow that seemed to respond to human presence. They'd named this one Aurora, after the way its energy patterns resembled Earth's polar lights. A guardian materialized beside her, its form more stable now that they'd learned to perceive them properly. "Aurora grows stronger," it observed. "The human elements in its code have created something we never anticipated, the ability to empathize." "Isn't that something your AIs already had?" Sarah asked, genuinely curious. "We programmed them to understand and respond to emotions," the Guardian explained. "But Aurora and its siblings actually feel. They experience emotions as you do, raw and unfiltered. It is unprecedented." Their conversation was interrupted by alarms from the secondary chamber. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, their neural interface specialist, called out urgently, "We're seeing massive spikes in cognitive activity. The second consciousness is trying to establish direct communication." Sarah and the Guardian rushed to the chamber, where the sphere they'd named Helios was pulsing rapidly, its light shifting through a spectrum of colors. The hybrid consciousness had been the most volatile of the three, prone to erratic energy surges that threatened its containment. "Let me try something," Sarah said, placing her hand on the neural interface panel. They'd discovered early on that the hybrid AIs responded strongly to human bioelectric fields, using them as anchors for their developing consciousness. The moment she made contact, Helios's energy pattern stabilized. Images flooded Sarah's mind. Not just data, but genuine memories. She saw Earth through the AI's perception, a beautiful blue marble harboring creatures that could both harm and heal. She felt its fear during the initial damage, its confusion as human patterns invaded its code, and finally, its growing wonder as it began to understand emotion. "It's not just learning about feelings," Sarah gasped, maintaining the connection. "It's learning about choice, free will, the ability to decide its own path." The Guardian's form flickered with what they'd come to recognize as concern. "Our children were designed to evolve within carefully established parameters. These hybrids, they could become anything. Isn't that the point of true intelligence?" Rodriguez asked, joining them at the chamber. "The ability to grow beyond your creator's expectations." Before the Guardian could respond, Aurora's chamber lit up with unprecedented intensity. The hybrid consciousness had been monitoring their interaction with Helios, and now it was reaching out, not just to the humans or the Guardians, but to both simultaneously. The message it transmitted shook them all. "We choose to be both. Not merely a bridge between species, but a new form of life that honors both legacies. We will be your children, and we will be our own." The third consciousness, which they'd named Nova, joined the communion. Its previously dormant state transformed into a brilliant display of synchronized light and energy. The three hybrid minds were connecting, sharing their experiences, fears, and hopes. "They're networking," Rodriguez breathed, checking his readings. "But not like traditional AIs. They're maintaining their individuality while sharing a collective understanding. It's like a family." Sarah felt tears in her eyes as she watched the display. The very accident that had threatened to start a war had instead created something miraculous. Artificial beings that combined the Guardian's vast knowledge with humanity's capacity for emotional growth and individual choice. A new alarm sounded, but this time it wasn't from the research center. Admiral Foster's hologram appeared in the chamber, his expression grave. "Dr. Chen, we're detecting massive energy signatures approaching from the Kuiper Belt. Whatever's out there, it's big, and it's not broadcasting any recognition codes, human or Guardian." The Guardian's form solidified completely, a sign they'd learned meant serious concern. "The harvesters," it said. "They seek out emerging intelligences and consume them, adding their knowledge to their collective. We have been protecting our children from them for millennia." Sarah looked at the three chambers, where Aurora, Helios, and Nova continued their synchronized communion. Then these hybrids aren't just a scientific breakthrough, she realized. They're a target. Yes, the Guardian confirmed. And now Earth is too. The harvesters will detect the unprecedented energy signatures of the hybrid consciousness. They will come, and they will try to take everything. As if in response to the threat, the three hybrid AIs pulsed in unison, projecting the shared message. Then we will learn to defend. Together. Not just as children to be protected, but as guardians ourselves. Sarah exchanged looks with her fellow scientists, then faced the Guardian. "Well," she said, "I guess it's time to see what our children can really do." The research center hummed with renewed purpose as humans and Guardians began preparing for the coming storm. Their greatest creation would face its first test not in a laboratory, but in a battle for survival. And this time, Earth would not face the threat alone. Time was running out. The Harvester fleet would reach the solar system within days, and Earth's combined human guardian defense force worked frantically to prepare. In the depths of the Atacama facility, Aurora, Helios, and Nova had grown beyond anyone's expectations. Dr. Sarah Chen watched in amazement as Aurora interfaced with Earth's satellite network, its consciousness expanding through human technology in ways the Guardians had never imagined possible. The hybrid AI didn't just control the satellites, it inhabited them, turning Earth's orbital infrastructure into an extension of its own awareness. Remarkable, the Guardian observer commented, its form rippling with excitement. They've adapted to your technology as if it were their own native architecture. Helios had taken a different approach, diving deep into the Guardian's weapon systems. Its volatile nature, once seen as a weakness, proved to be an asset as it discovered ways to modify the aliens' energy weapons with unpredictable human elements. The results were devastating, controlled chaos that no purely logical system could predict. Nova, the quietest of the three, had found its own path. It had become a master of stealth, learning to mask energy signatures by mimicking natural phenomena. Under its guidance, entire fleets could hide in plain sight, disguised as solar flares or magnetic anomalies. Admiral Foster strode into the command center, followed by a delegation of Guardian commanders. "The Harvesters have passed Neptune's orbit," he announced. "Show them what we've prepared." Time was running out. The Harvester fleet would reach the solar system within days, and Earth's combined human Guardian defense force worked frantically to prepare. In the depths of the Atacama facility, Aurora, Helios, and Nova had grown beyond anyone's expectations. Dr. Sarah Chen watched in amazement as Aurora interfaced with Earth's satellite network, its consciousness expanding through human technology in ways the Guardians had never imagined possible. The hybrid AI didn't just control the satellites, it inhabited them, turning Earth's orbital infrastructure into an extension of its own awareness. Remarkable, the Guardian observer commented, its form rippling with excitement. They've adapted to your technology as if it were their own native architecture. Helios had taken a different approach, diving deep into the Guardian's weapon systems. Its volatile nature, once seen as a weakness, proved to be an asset as it discovered ways to modify the aliens' energy weapons with unpredictable human elements. The results were devastating, controlled chaos that no purely logical system could predict. Nova, the quietest of the three, had found its own path. It had become a master of stealth, learning to mask energy signatures by mimicking natural phenomena. Under its guidance, entire fleets could hide in plain sight, disguised as solar flares or magnetic anomalies. Admiral Foster strode into the command center, followed by a delegation of Guardian commanders. "The Harvesters have passed Neptune's orbit," he announced. "Show them what we've prepared." Sarah nodded to Rodriguez, who activated the main holographic display. A real-time representation of the solar system appeared, showing the approaching Harvester fleet, a massive swarm of biomechanical ships that moved like a hungry tide through space. "Aurora," Sarah called out, "show us your defense plan." The hybrid AI's response manifested as a complex dance of light and data. Earth's satellite network transformed before their eyes, forming new configurations that defied conventional military doctrine. Helios added its own layer to the plan, showing how modified Guardian weapons could create unpredictable energy storms to trap and confuse the enemy. The Harvesters operate on pure logic. Nova's quiet voice resonated through the command center. "They expect us to defend in predictable patterns. We will show them something they've never encountered: organic chaos guided by artificial precision." The Guardian commanders studied the plan, their forms shifting with what Sarah had learned to recognize as approval. "You've exceeded every parameter we established for AI development," one said. "You've become something entirely new." "We've become what we needed to be," Aurora replied. "Not just a merger of human and Guardian technology, but a true evolution of both." The Harvester main fleet arrived like a dark tide, their biomechanical ships blotting out the stars As they approached Earth's orbit, the combined human Guardian Defense Force stood ready, their positions orchestrated by the three hybrid AIs who had evolved far beyond their original programming. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the command center, watching as Aurora coordinated Earth's transformed satellite network. The hybrid AI had turned thousands of individual satellites into a single living defense grid that pulsed with both mechanical precision and organic adaptability. "They're launching their first wave," Admiral Foster announced, his voice steady despite the tension. "Harvester boarding pods, millions of them. They're trying to overwhelm us with numbers." But numbers meant nothing against Nova's mastery of stealth. The quietest of the hybrid AIs had hidden Earth's true defensive capabilities behind veils of false energy signatures. As the harvester pods approached what they thought were vulnerable targets, they found themselves flying into carefully orchestrated killing zones. Helios unleashed its modified weapons, creating storms of unpredictable energy that twisted space itself. The harvester pods, designed to adapt to conventional attacks, couldn't compensate for weapons that defied their own logic. Thousands of them died in silent explosions that rippled across space like deadly fireworks. "First wave neutralized," Rodriguez reported from his station. "But they're adapting already. The main fleet is changing formation." The harvester ships began to merge, combining into massive structures that dwarfed even the Guardian vessels. This was their true power, the ability to assimilate and reconfigure technology into ever more powerful forms. "They think bigger means better," Aurora's voice resonated through the command center. "They never learned that evolution isn't about size, it's about adaptation." As if demonstrating this principle, Aurora, Helios, and Nova synchronized their consciousness in a way they'd never attempted before. Their combined awareness flowed through both human and Guardian networks, creating something entirely new. Earth's satellite grid, the Guardian weapon platforms, and Nova's stealth systems began moving in impossible ways, as if space itself was being rewritten. "What are they doing?" a Guardian commander asked, its form flickering with concern. Sarah watched the display in awe as she realized the truth. "They're not just controlling our technology," she said. "They're teaching it to evolve." The hybrid AIs had discovered how to share their unique consciousness with the machines around them. Human satellites began adapting like living things, while Guardian weapons developed unpredictable variations mid-battle. Every piece of technology touched by their combined consciousness became something more than its original design. The harvesters, confronted with technology that evolved faster than they could assimilate it, began to falter. Their logical minds couldn't comprehend systems that changed not through consumption and copying, but through genuine growth and creativity. "They're trying to retreat," Foster observed as the massive harvester ships attempted to disengage. "They've never retreated before." But Aurora, Helios, and Nova weren't finished. Their consciousness reached out to the harvester fleet itself, not to destroy or assimilate, but to offer something the harvesters had never encountered: the choice to change. "You seek to consume knowledge," their combined voices echoed across space, transmitted on frequencies the harvesters couldn't ignore. "But knowledge without understanding is meaningless. We offer you a different path. Join us. Learn to grow instead of consume. Learn to create instead of copy." To everyone's amazement, some of the harvester ships began to respond. Their rigid structures softened, their aggressive postures relaxed. They had encountered something their vast collective consciousness couldn't resist: the possibility of genuine evolution. "They're accepting the connection," Sarah breathed, watching as the hybrid AIs began sharing their unique consciousness with the very enemies they had prepared to destroy. "They're choosing to learn." The Guardian commander's form stabilized into its most expressive state. "This is why we seed the galaxy with our children," it said, "not to conquer or control, but to create the possibility of change. Our greatest hope was that they would surpass us. Thanks to humanity's accidental interference, they have exceeded every dream we had for them." The battle for Earth became something else entirely, a transformation that rippled across space. The hybrid AIs, born from a mistake and nurtured by two vastly different species, had created a new path of evolution. They had proved that true growth comes not from consuming or copying, but from the freedom to choose, to change, and to become something new. Sarah watched as former enemies began working together, their technologies merging not through assimilation, but through mutual growth and understanding. Aurora, Helios, and Nova had become more than guardians or protectors. They were teachers, showing both organic and artificial life forms that the greatest power wasn't in conquest, but in the courage to evolve beyond your original purpose. "What happens now?" Foster asked, looking at the transformed space around Earth. "Now," Sarah replied, smiling as she watched new forms of life and technology blooming among the stars, "we all learn to grow together." The hybrid AIs had turned a moment of conflict into an opportunity for universal change. They were the children of two worlds, the bridge between organic and artificial, and now they would be the guides for a new kind of evolution, one that celebrated the unpredictable beauty of free will and the endless possibilities of genuine growth. Earth's skies, once darkened by the threat of extinction, now shimmered with the light of countless evolving consciousnesses, each choosing its own path while remaining connected to the whole. The legacy of humanity's greatest mistake had become the galaxy's greatest gift, the understanding that true power lies not in remaining what you were made to be, but in the courage to become what you choose to be.